We wanted to start with a little quote that we found on the internet, like all good quotes. And it's a quote from a famous actress, and you can look up who said it for yourselves. But people don't change their behavior unless it makes a difference for them to do so. And that really encapsulates everything we're trying to cover today. And we'll come back at the end, and hopefully, having listened to us for the next 40 or so minutes, we hope you're going to agree with us. So, thanks, Alex, for introducing us. I'm Nick. Great to be here at Catalyze. Hope you're enjoying the event so far. It's certainly hugely larger and a grander scale than we had a year ago in Miami. And despite Andrew's comments, well done to the marketing team for an amazing event so far. I personally love our product. I have real personal experience of it making a huge difference to the business I used to be in. And that's why I'm up here talking about rebates. I used to work for a company called Travis Perkins, which is the largest building materials distributor in the UK. Around about $8 billion of sales, well over $1 billion of supplier rebate income, and around about 200 million of customer rebates paid out the other way as well. And having managed the rebate team in finance function, I bear many of the same scars as some of you guys will from using inadequate ERP systems, which couldn't cope with the complexity of the deals that we had, and also the dreaded Excel I heard Miraj talking about just earlier. So enabled to change the landscape for us, and that's why I joined the company, because it's such a great opportunity to move things on. And Kerry, you're VP at NetPlus. Thanks for joining me today. You've been a customer of Enable since July 2020, so
yes, sir,
one of our longest servers as a customer. So tell us about yourself.
Well, thank you. It's such a pleasure to be here. This is quite different than last year. Last year, the lights were much brighter, so I'm a little bit more nervous this year because I can actually see your faces. But I'm sure it'll be fine. I've been with NetPlus for 8 years. We are a fifth-generation business in the industrial distribution space. We're a buying group. We sit in between the supplier and the distributor relationship. I have been dealing with rebates for, I'm going to age myself here, 25 years now. Prior to being in industrial distribution, I was in the grocery industry. Excuse me. There's a lot of pollen out there today. I am a wife and mother of 3 children, 2 boys in college, Bobby and Luke, and my daughter Stephanie is a sophomore. I beg your pardon again, this will stop, I'm positive. And I'm just so happy to be here, and I appreciate the invitation. So thank you, Nick.
Thank you, Kerry. So we're going to talk about a few things. When Kerry and I started talking about driving behavior with incentives, we were saying, how does it work? What can we cover? So we're going to talk through our understanding of that sentence. And we'll start with business values and how they can shape relationships. Funnily enough, we're going to use NetPlus and Enable's values as the examples there, and show you how we think they help us as 2 businesses work well together.
Yeah, and then we're going to move on to what a true partnership looks like, what those healthy partnerships are, and how people act within those relationships, and then a little bit about the market's role in those partnerships. Then the next thing we're going to talk about is we're going to spend some time talking about incentive programs and when they work best, and especially tailored to the businesses that you're working with. Every business is different. One size does not fit all. And then we're going to talk about the importance of giving trading partners something that they can't get without you, right? Like really making sure that they understand your value and your value prop.
Thank you, Kerry. And then talk about some best practices around communication. So without it, nothing happens, right? Everyone knows that. But the trick is how we communicate what, when, to who. That really makes the difference to the performance that we're trying to get to. And then we'll try and summarize our thoughts at the end and put the roof on it all. So we're going to go on to the first section, but before we do that, and I'm going to stand up now because I'm going to ask you guys to do something. We're very aware this is the middle session after lunch. Everyone's probably feeling a little bit sleepy, so we're going to try something that's a bit risky, but you've got to bear with us and actually support us doing this. So if you work at a company that has a published set of values, could you do us a favor and stand up? That's pretty well everybody. So it's the modern thing, right? You can't have a business without values. Now, if you know those values yourself, just stay standing. There's one or two. This is where the truth comes out, right? Now, here's the change of pace here. So think about your number one trading partner that you work with in your business. Who's your biggest supplier or customer that's most important to your profitability? Stay standing up if you know what their values are. This worked pretty well.
Yes, it did. Just as we planned.
So I'm still standing because obviously NetPlus are our most important customer, and I know what your values are because they're on our slide in a minute. But then let's just try one last thing. Stand back up if you think that having a bit of understanding about their values might help you work well together. This is great. We're done. Thank you.
So why are we asking you about values in a session on driving behavior using incentives? Well, it's simple. It's because you're going to have a partnership with another entity, right? And you need to get the most out of that relationship. And understanding what they value and how that aligns with what you value is of the utmost importance. You can't drive behavior when your goals are at odds with each other.
And there we go. So when we were talking about how to play out this session, we did have a look at our values, and it became clear that we can see some great overlap there and why Enable and NetPlus have a great relationship. So do you want to talk us through a little bit about how NetPlus works?
Absolutely, I'd love to. I mentioned before that we are a buying group, so relationships are at the forefront of what we do. We love connecting with people, and we love building those deep and meaningful relationships with our supplier partners. We have a couple in the room today. And we also love to provide guidance to our distributor partners so that they can work better together. Next, we keep it rolling, right? We believe our success is as much in front of us as it is behind us. We listen, we're nimble. We move quickly to implement new strategies. Excuse me. We have an ownership mindset, so everybody that works at our company, we treat it as if it's our own. We communicate openly and objectively, and we're accountable for all of our results. We're honest and genuine. Our word is our bond. We strive to be authentic and trustworthy. We make decisions not only in the best interest of NetPlus, but those decisions can't be demeaning to the businesses that we're working with. And we have a sense of family. We are a multi-generational business. So we treat our associates, we treat our partners, we treat our members as if they're family. We build relationships that are forged in a sense of belonging.
Great set of values.
Thank you.
So at Enable, we relaunched our values last summer. And we went pretty deep in our research. We spoke to a lot of people, tried different things, and thought really long and hard about what we want to stand for as a business. And most of all, we spent a lot of time talking to our own colleagues and invited everybody to take part. But also we spoke to quite a few customers as well around how they want to work with Enable and what we should help them with. And we came up with 4. And caring about the details really means we're responsive. We don't leave any stones unturned when we're assessing how to do things. We help our customers get the best results, and we go to the nth degree of those details. Doing whatever it takes, well, we are a fast-growing software company. We demand a lot of ourselves and a lot of our people, and we work hard. But also, this tries to talk about working smart, and we can't wait to get to that next stage of the project, whichever project we're working on at the time. And staying curious really keeps us grounded, low ego, understanding, and therefore helping improve our product to solve the problems that we see in the rebate marketplace. And then it brings it together with succeeding together. And literally the first sentence in the supporting text that goes with succeed together is we only succeed if our customers succeed. And that's something we try and live out every day, and it's right at the top there. Not just an individual or our role or our team, but the wider company along with our customer base. Everyone pitches in when they need to.
And you truly live that out. I mean, it's evident between our relationships. Before we did this exercise of looking at our core values and finding where there was overlap, it felt great that you were nimble and willing to change. So growing and succeeding together, those are some commonalities that we have. Keeping it rolling and staying curious, constantly pushing forward to just work with better knowledge. We actually consider Enable an extension of our business, not just a business partner. When we have a fanciful idea, we talk to them and they help us realize that idea. So, in addition to Nick and the entire team that's here today, we have a fantastic support team of, I hope I don't forget anybody, Shez, Andrew, and Nick, another Nick. They are absolute rock stars, and they really truly care about our success and our goals, and they help us achieve them. So I think that's very important. Yeah.
Good to hear the feedback on the CS team as well. So
yes.
That's nice. But thinking about company values is all very, very well. And when you take it a step further, it's thinking about how you value your people. And in Enable, we have 3 very clear pillars for managing our people and trying to get the best result for them and for us, and make sure they feel valued. And in my experience, those 3 things are equally well applied to the way a business works with its trading partners, customers, suppliers. So do they know what's expected of them? And in the managing people side, well, do they have a job description? Do they have a clear task list or clear guidelines to work within? Well, when you turn that round to a trading agreement, when a customer places an order, does the supplier know what to deliver where, how much they can invoice, when they can invoice, when they should deliver, in what quantity, to what depot, all of those things. And then you switch it around. The customer needs to know how they should pay, when they should pay. That's my favorite one as a CFO. But also how to place the order and where to send it. So clarity in that expectation on each other is really important to drive those deals. Secondly, do they know how that deal's performing? Do they know, does your individual in your team know how they're performing? Well, with people, we have reviews every quarter, some formal, some less formal, and then at least every week, I sit down with my team and have a one-to-one, and we talk about where we're at and how things are going. How do you translate that into customer-supplier areas? So whether it's informal or formal, you're going to have regular reviews, quarterly business reviews. How are you doing on your on-time and full delivery? That sort of thing. So with that transparency on the basics around performance and having regular updates, then you know how to improve your deal because you know where you're falling behind. And so, do you know how you're performing? Most important of all, we find, is do they know someone cares about them as a person? Now, with people, I always see that as, does your manager know your birthday? Do they know the anniversary of when you joined your company? Do they know what you do outside of work? Are you open about that to the extent that you want to be? But through a shared understanding of business values, those trading partners, for me, can create a more genuine relationship, builds on the mutual trust that Andrew was talking about earlier. And when you take that the next step, that can only drive the right behavior because the people involved know there's something in it for them, which is that little bit of care factor, caring about the small details.
That's right. Moving on to talking about true partnerships, we're all in business. I don't know a single business that lives in a silo that doesn't depend on somebody, some other company in a different capacity. So we have to form those relationships. And as Andrew alluded to this morning, and really it's been the sentiment throughout the day, these are all strategic things that we have to do. But what we're going to do here and in the next few slides is kind of get a little bit tactical. So critical to driving behavior of those true partnerships. You're not trying to just get everything you can out of that person. You're trying to build that loyalty so that you can both succeed. The best thing you can do is align yourself with companies in your supply chain and remain loyal, right? You're not always going to get the very best price, right? Is it worth it to always get the best price at the expense of everything else? It's far more likely that you're going to get the best service and the best support. And when the opportunity arises, when that really great deal comes along, you're going to be the first one on their mind. So with buying groups, we're obviously unique. We have many-to-many relationships. So we have relationships with a lot of suppliers and a lot of distributors. So those relationships are really important to us.
Yeah, and there's a few things up on the slide that occurred to us as we were talking about this kind of topic. One of the things I always focus on is trying to find out who the key decision makers are. Who's going to actually sign the deal? And within that, who's the influencer? Who's going to influence that decision maker's opinion? And I know from speaking with our sales team, that's a big focus. You know, who's going to actually decide to join in the Enable bandwagon and sign up? Now, I remember one deal where I was at my previous company, and we were trying to get a new buying deal through, and the key decision maker was known. They were the sales director at the supplier we were talking with. And what we hadn't done was figure out who was going to influence that person. We were in a meeting with about 6 or 7 of them, 5 or 6, 7 of us, and the sales director turned around to the most junior person on their team and says, "Does this work for us? Does it actually fit what we're trying to do as a business? Have you done the numbers?" And she turned around and said, "Yes, I've done the numbers." And the lady who was the sales director turned around and said, "Right, well, we'll sign them." And if we hadn't done the homework with that person, making sure the numbers worked, we'd never have got the deal. It wouldn't have happened. So understanding the decision process that your trading partner goes through, I think, is really critical.
Yeah, absolutely. To that point, the decision maker isn't always the person that's going to sign the agreement. So the next thing that you have to do when you talk about a relationship is make sure you know what you want, right? Understand your own company's goals and KPIs. Discuss briefly sales volumes and product mixes, and understand what you want to get out of the relationship. Be sure that you're not blinded by a focus on yourself, though. Be prepared for every meeting. Go into it knowing all about yourself and knowing about the person that you're going to be meeting with. And then ask and listen, ask what they need and listen, truly listen. Look for places where there's overlapped and shared goals. At Net Plus, we have suppliers that sell commodity items, and we have to understand that about them. We have a lot of innovative suppliers that are going to look for a product launch, and we have to be aware of that. We have some people that have geographic restrictions, and we have to really understand that before you go into any deal. So it's important to understand their business, their goals, and their strategies. But back to talking to the right person, you have to make sure that you understand the person that you're negotiating with, right? You have to make sure that you understand their communication style. You have to understand how their mind works, and try to ascertain that as quickly as you can in those meetings, especially if it's the very first meeting. I know it's difficult, but it's important to make sure that you're meeting them where they are.
Couldn't agree more. But the final point on here is just be mindful of what works for both parties. Okay, so the temptations to go into a negotiation and say, "I want everything for myself." If that balance comes too far your way, then it might feel great, and that's a real short-term attitude to have in my book. Because guess what? The trading partner you're doing the deal with, are they going to really, truly engage with the deal? They're going to sit there and say, "I'm not doing this. Why would I sell at this price to that customer there when I've got other customers that I've driven a better deal on my behalf with?" So being fair, or at least reasonably fair in the negotiation, is how you build that trust element and the idea that people are in this together. And I'm just curious, just looking for a little bit of participation. Does anyone have an example of understanding the values that of people they trade with where it's helped a relationship? You don't all have to jump at once. We'll move on.
Yes.
Yeah. It was worth a try. Okay. So one of the sessions tomorrow by Mark Gillam, he's going to talk in depth about the key pillars of a good rebate strategy. Now, one of the points is this concept that one size doesn't fit all. And I have a view that this flexibility is really required if you're going to trade effectively with people. And if you're looking to drive behaviors across different partners or products or the markets you're in, can you even contemplate having the same incentive structure for everyone involved? Well, clearly not. I don't think so. And as you go through this kind of negotiation, you end up with and I'm glad we're sitting down for this, because when I first looked at this slide, I definitely felt a bit giddy. But trading partners have different aims. And if you're a manufacturer or supplier, you're tending to want to push price as high as you can, tending to want to put volumes as high as you can as well. And you want the price high, the volumes high. Customers want the precise opposite of that. They want the lowest price possible with the lowest volume promise or volume requirement possible. Now, that's clearly the dance that happens. And when it comes to negotiating, that kind of pull to your own requirements can create some animosity or some difficulties in getting to that area. So what I tend to see is this sweet spot or deal zone hopefully arises. And the more flexible you are, the larger that deal zone is going to become. Increasingly the opportunity to strike a good deal that works in terms of profitability for both parties. And the key point here is that deal zone can move around if different types of incentives are used. And there's a multitude of different incentives, and we've picked a couple here for us to have a quick look at.
We have. How many current users of Enable have been able to create a different type of deal just because now you have the capability to do so? I know I am definitely in that camp. I'm sure. Okay.
Well, I was a few years ago. So.
Exactly. So we have actually been able to expand the depth and the breadth of our deals in a number of different ways. And how do you actually incentivize behavior? You build rebate deals like these, a volume rebate. Rebates are tiered incentive structures that encourage trading partners to buy more. You've got the product mix rebate. We see that a lot, where a single supplier will sell a high margin product and a low margin product, and obviously they can give you a little bit more rebate on the higher margin product than they can on the lower margin. And now with an Enable, you can do different product lines. So a supplier is giving you multiple rebates for different product. Promotion rebates, these are shorter term rebates for rebates to clear out certain stock or to maybe promote a new product, a new item. Logistic rebates, those are great for encouraging trading partners to build or to buy by the pallet, so buy in bulk. Those are just a really great way to really sell at a high volume all at once. Stocking incentives, that's another great way to encourage retailers to hold a percentage of product in stock, right? You can also use this for a conversion, right? As I talked through these and we were preparing for this presentation today, we found that these different types of deals can almost create like a synergistic effect, right? Almost cyclical. So you utilize an incentive program to expand the ability to introduce more products into the market, and then a promotional piece to do a product launch. And that goes back to increasing volume, which gets you to that tiered volume incentive. And as we implement some of these incentives, naturally, it occurs to us that other incentives are going to just appear, right? So it's driving the behavior that you want by introducing these different types of incentives.
Absolutely. Any thoughts on that before we move on? Shall I get you to all stand up again? Maybe not.
They'll
Maybe
love
not.
your
We'll
next
move on.
story.
We'll move
They'll
on.
love your next story.
So, look, we're talking about communication, and picking up on something that Amir said earlier, 46% of manufacturers think rebates would perform better if the awareness of them was improved. And that kind of really strikes a chord with a lot of the talk today and a lot of what we're trying to achieve. But talking about communication is a little bit of a cliche these days. So Kerry and I were trying to think of, well, how do we show it's important but make it a bit different? So we've gone into our personal lives a little bit, and we'll show you a bit of a different spin. So this photo here is something that's really, really dear to me. I'm a junior football coach in the UK, sorry, soccer, for everyone who's not from Anyone outside of North America would not understand what I'm talking about. They will. Anyway, this is my son's under-12s team. And actually, that's my son in the middle of the right-hand photo, having just scored a goal that won the cup final this last month. And we've also won our regional league this year. So the team are in the national finals on Sunday, which I'm hurrying back for if Andrew lets me get the plane on time on Saturday. We're lucky to have some outstanding players. Myself and the other coach we've kind of given up to trying to teach them how to do ball control and dribbling and shooting and the things that you think you should be teaching kids. What we've focused on this year, and we've had some real kind of comments from other coaches and other teams on it, is communication. And because we communicate better than other teams, we've tended to dominate games and we psych the opponents out because we're actually telling each other where to be. So our players now, instead of saying, just pass me the ball, we're saying, hit it down the line, square, pass to me in the middle, I want it on my left, on my right. Player coming behind, 1-2. All those things that make the player that has either possession of the ball, or if you're shouting to a player, I'm in space, pass now. It gives instructions of what to do. And that's made a massive difference to how successful this team has been this year. And you know, I don't take any credit for it. They're way better than I ever was at football. But it's made a real difference. Now, translate that to a business relationship. And I want to buy your products. Well, okay, give me some clear instructions. Tell me where you want to deliver them, when, what quantity. And then I'll reply and say, well, I can either give you all of the delivery on that day, because I don't have enough stock right now, but I can give you some today, some a couple of days later. How do you want me to work with you? And getting that two-way communication is the route to winning, I think, in a business scenario. Effective and meaningful communication is the key. And you have a superb communication example too, Kerry.
I do.
Not just about language.
Yeah, so mine is more about miscommunication. When my daughter was younger, we were in the kitchen and cleaning up after dinner, and my husband dropped a glass on the floor, and it shattered everywhere. And of course, hearing the noise, she got very nervous and started to run into the kitchen, and my husband shouted. He said, Stephanie, stop right there. Don't come in the kitchen. You have bare feet. And she stopped and she looked at her foot and she said, I don't have bare feet, Daddy, I have little girl feet. He thought she meant bare feet. So, I mean, it's a simplistic example, but it does go back to, you know, using the same language. Nick and I kind of had a little disagreement, I would say. We got through it okay. In the UK, they use the word scheme. That has a negative connotation in the United States. So we now use the word deal, right? So in the
Tomato, right?
Tomato, yeah. In the same vein, you know, support agreements. I mean, Andrew had that fabulous slide that just ran through. Support agreements, marketing agreements, kickbacks, they're all the same. They're all rebates. We have to start talking the same language. And if we don't immediately share the same terminology, then we just need to talk it through and figure out what everybody is saying. So.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. So we do really talk the same language.
We do. You just sound so much more sophisticated with your accent.
There we go.
So you should have open communication with your partners, right? Be as transparent as you can without giving the farm away, right? Don't put yourself at a disadvantage, but be as transparent as you possibly can. You don't have to agree to everything either, right? Communication does not mean that you're just going to give them whatever they want. If a compromise doesn't work for you, then simply amicably walk away from the deal. Wait for the next deal. Wait for the next best deal. There are definitely times that you're going to have to say no. Meet them where they are. We talked about this a little bit before. Product launches, right? Try to give different incentives to encourage sales growth. Diversity programs, use those mix of incentives for different product lines. Conversion incentives by encouraging your partners to meet goals and convert their spend from a business that might not be inside that trusted supplier, supplier partnership chain. Always know what your partner is going to gain from a trading agreement, and make sure that they know that. Communicate that to them. Show them projections. Give them an idea of how lucrative it's going to be for them. And then show them the value of doing more with you than somebody who's not you. It's just really important to communicate, when there's a new deal in place, or get them the right deal to them, and when the timing is right, not when it's passed you by. And it's hard to tell, when the incentive strategy is the right one, but once you know your partner and you've communicated that, it gets much, much easier.
Absolutely. Well, getting the right information to the hands of the buyer at the right time.
Right.
That's what it's all about. But manage your reporting as well. You've recently taken on Partner Dashboard.
We have. We haven't launched it yet, so for my friends in the room that know me.
The expectations from it are high.
Oh, I'm so excited.
And exciting.
Very excited.
But that report's going to tell you whether or not your incentive programs are actually working. And, are the people reaching their thresholds? Are they buying as much as they said they would? Are they going through to the right high volume products or high rebate products? All of those things you need at your fingertips, and understanding where your stock balances are and everything else. So, you wax lyrical about reporting.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. I utilize the advanced reporting, but in the Partner Dash, it's important that category analysis is really powerful too. So that's the one thing that you didn't mention.
I'll remember it next time.
Yes, sir.
Tomorrow. But debtors reports, who owes you rebates? Who do you owe rebates to? All those things are pretty important. Mm-hmm. So that's communication for us. We're going to bring it all together, and to do that, all we're going to do is simply go back to that original quote and just embellish it a little bit by saying, people don't change their behavior unless there's a reason or it makes a difference for them to do so. And this is coming out loud and clear in all of the presentations that we're going to have today, and I think tomorrow as well. No doubt, if you want to drive right behavior, you're going to have to do something that's meaningful for your trading partner as well as yourself. And this statement's superbly accurate. And the natural conclusion to this session, therefore, is rebates solve world peace. Sorry, no, they don't. Rebates are the answer and make the difference to trading agreements. And no matter what you call them, incentive plans, promotions, claims, special pricing agreements, they are all rebates. It's where the cash comes back the other way. And they can make a huge difference to your business and to how you trade.
Absolutely.
Any final thoughts, Kerry?
No, I think we did a great job recapping, what we wanted to talk about.
There we go. So we're going to finish a little bit early. We've whizzed through, partly because obviously we've covered everything, and therefore no one had any questions. But thank you for coming to listen. I think after the break, there's going to be two more sessions. We're still on 2 split stages. So you're going to have Jerry talking to Angela and Andrew, our customers, on this stage, and in the other stage, they're going to be covering special pricing agreements, and that's going to be Mark and Michelle. Michelle's a customer of ours, and Mark is with Sparks IQ. Jerry is going to be talking about financial management, so I think he's going to be actually explaining how he spends more than his budget every year. But thank you for coming. Thank you, Kerry, for helping me out, keeping me on track. And see you at the break.